Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mind Over Matter with Sankit. In this episode, we'll be talking about how to be meditative no matter where you are. Now, by this I mean being meditative when you're in a large crowd, or when you're in a noisy place, or when you're at a family gathering, or when you're hanging out with friends. So it might come off as surprising to you, but then it's possible to be meditative no matter where you are. So I'll be talking about the basic things that you need to do in order to be meditative at all times. So the first thing is, as I've mentioned in many of my videos, just merely focusing on the incoming breath and outgoing breath, and incoming breath and outgoing breath. Now, at first you might think that simply observing your breath might be a little boring. All of us are so used to stimulus that we always want some form of stimulus. In the external world, we're always feeding our brain with one stimulus and another, and in our brain we're doing the same thing by creating our own images, and we're creating our own thoughts, and we're creating our own emotions. But then we have great difficulty in just sitting silently, doing nothing, and just observing our breath. But then whenever you find yourself in a very crowded place, and you cannot really relate to anyone else, say you're waiting for the line in an airport or in a cafe, if you're waiting in line for the food, what you can do is simply observe your breath. Now, when you do this, you do not really need to control your breath. You can just observe your breath just as it is. And if you notice that your breath is very shallow, you can take a few deep long breaths, and then that will be your normal pace of breath, and then you can continue. Another thing that you can do when you're in such situations where you do not get a silent place to meditate is just observing your body. This is also known as body awareness meditation. What you need to do is just be aware of whatever is happening right from the top of your head all the way up to your toe. Just observe whatever is happening. If it's itching somewhere, just observe it. If it's hurting somewhere, just observe it. If some area is very stressed, you need to observe it. You just need to observe it. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to actively do anything. You do not need to give any reaction to any of these sensations. All you need to do is just observe your body. Now, similarly, another thing you can do is observing other people, but this can be dangerous because when you observe other people, it's very likely that you become very judgmental and you start thinking about other people, and then that gives rise to emotions. Now, for beginners, it's important that you just limit this observation to yourself. There are so many things that are going on in yourself that you do not really need to look at the external world. But then when you are well practiced at observing yourself and observing the sensations that happen in your body, you can slowly move on to observing other people. Now, when you observe other people, you should make sure that any circumstance, no matter what, should not alter your breath, and it should not affect your emotions in a significant way. You need to be a distant watcher. You shouldn't really partake in emotions. You shouldn't really think too deeply about other people, because that defeats the whole purpose. Your purpose is to be aware and objectively aware. You do not really want to judge other people according to your subjective perspectives. So what you can do is just observe what other people are doing. You do not need to be judgmental at all. Just look at the beauty of how diverse this world is, how different people are. Now, as you become more practiced, as you become more used to this practice, you'll notice that you'll start knowing yourself better, and you'll also start knowing other people better, because you'll be observing the body language of other people. You'll start understanding the interrelation between different activities and different moods of people. Even if you are mostly in a crowded place, or you need to be at your workplace for a long time, or you need to give time to your family and friends, that is never an excuse to not meditate, because you can always find ways to meditate. Now, when you are playing a game, you can be aware of how your body is getting heated up with time, and you can also notice if any of your muscles are relaxed or any of your muscles are tensed. Now when you start doing this, you'll also become more aware of your physical health. You'll understand what exactly is good for you and what is not. This can be practiced also when having food. Now nowadays, because we are too addicted to stimulus, we watch something when we are eating. We either watch the TV or we are watching videos on YouTube when we are eating. But then this is a very bad practice. That is basically like disrespecting your food, because in order to get that food to your plate, a lot of effort has been made. Just think about it. Whenever we have food, we are mostly consumed by so many ideas and so many thoughts at the same time that eating just becomes a robotic activity. We do it because we know that it needs to be done, but then we are not doing it intentionally. But then when you start to eat intentionally, you'll also notice that you will actually get the nutrients out of the food, because your body will be full of enzymes that will welcome the food accordingly. If you're constantly thinking about something, say you're angry with someone and you're constantly thinking about them, then your body will be full of biochemical processes that relate to anger. It will release hormones like cortisol, and your body will be full of such negative chemicals. Now when you ingest food, and when the food mixes with these negative chemicals, you cannot really expect the food to act properly in your body. It will certainly have negative emotion. It will certainly have negative consequences. The same very good food that you have might turn out to be a toxic food just because it has been mixed with toxic emotions. So these are very subtle things that are generally disregarded but are very important if you want to make the most out of any experience. Similarly, it is also important to be meditative when you're having an important conversation with someone. So generally when we're having conversations, although we're acting like we're listening to the other person, most of the times we're not listening to the other person intently. Rather than listening to what the other person is saying, we're generally too hurried up to reply to what they're saying. We're too enthusiastic about keeping our perspective forward rather than trying to understand what the other person is trying to say. And in doing this, we miss out a lot of learning opportunities. What we say is only what we already know, but then if we can listen intently to other people, we can learn new things. So in this way, being meditative when listening to other people, just focusing on your breath and listening to them without any judgment whatsoever. Hence, being meditative whenever you're having an important conversation with someone helps you to build meaningful relationship with them. So basically in today's video, we talked about how you can be meditative in no matter what circumstances. You do not really need a quiet, solitude kind of environment to go into meditation. There are many other forms of active meditation, like observing your breath, observing your sensations, observing your own thoughts and emotions, and also then moving on to observing other people and other people's activities in a non-judgmental way. So if you like the content of today's video, make sure you press the like button. Also, if you like whatever's happening here at Sound Health Solution, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be coming up with similar videos in the future. Until next time.